Hello and welcome. The top story right now is an NDTV exclusive. A Lingayat Seer has accused the Karnataka's Bommai government of taking a 30% cut from the grants set aside for the welfare and development of Mutts. That is a shocking allegation that comes days after the corruption charges related to the former State Minister K.S. Ishwarappa, days after Santosh Patil, a BJP worker and a contractor, died by suicide after blaming K.S. Ishwarappa, the former Minister for Panchayat Raj, for demanding a 40% commission. A Lingayat Seer has now accused the Basavaraj Bommai government of taking a 30% cut from the grants that are set aside for the welfare and development of Mutts.
ನಮಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಬಹಳ ಗೊತ್ತೈತಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ಸ್ವಾಮಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಅನುದಾನ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ 30% ಕಟ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅದು ಕಟ್ಟಡ ಚಲುವಕೈತೆ ಹೊರತಾಗಿ ಮಠದಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ಆ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಬಂದು ನಮಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರ ಇಷ್ಟು ರೊಕ್ಕ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಅಂತೂ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬಂತಲ್ಲ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟಾಚಾರ ಅಂತ.
See, he is a very great Swamiji with a very big track record. The entire state knows. So I only request His Holiness to give the entire proof who has paid, for what purpose he has paid and whom he has paid. We will certainly inquire and go to the depth of it. We consider his allegation very seriously.
Let's go across to MS Shrija, who's following this story, really bringing us this big exclusive report, this exclusive story only on NDTV right now. So Shrija, who is this Seer in question? What is his political significance? What is his background in connection with the powers that be in the government in the state?
Well, the Seer that we are talking about here is Dingaleshwar Swamiji. Now, he is a Seer of Balehosur Mutt in Govt district of Karnataka. So this is not really the very first time that we have been seeing where Dingaleshwar Swamiji is coming out and being very vocal about in terms of whether it is, religious sentiments or resonating any religious sentiments, or even for that matter issuing statements. Now, this time around, of course, he's made a very bold statement, of course, going on to state that if at all any grants that needed to be released by the government to the Mutts, now they go on to take nearly 30% cut. Now, like I did, of course, point out, he is also one of the major Seers who led a delegation of over two dozen of Seers. This is in support of B.S. Yediyurappa. This is when Karnataka government, remember, they were dislodging him from his post as far as the chief minister's post is concerned, and then replacing him with Basavaraj Bommai. So, of course, it's a very, in terms of Dingaleshwar Seer, he's, of course, holding a very high prominence and very well-known Seer as far as Karnataka is concerned, not just about religious circles, but also, in fact, in political circles, because that is something, as far as Karnataka politics is concerned, we're talking about the two major communities that contribute to the vote share of the Karnataka politics, which we're talking about the Lingayats and the Veerashaiva. So he's also played a very prominent role in terms of, garnering maximum support from different sects of Seers. This is in support of Yediyurappa, and that is one of the reasons why we understand he also holds that kind of importance. And in terms of, he's also been, in fact, courting several controversies over the past few years as well. This is even with regard to his succession, and also, in fact, with regard to the hot debate that is according a separate religious status to the Lingayat as a religion. So he has been at the forefront, the focal point of major controversies, be it political or even for that matter religious as well.
And we heard the Chief Minister there refer to him as His Holiness. But Shrija, the Chief Minister saying he will get to the bottom of this, what has the reaction been from the government? This is a setback, a big setback, a huge setback for the BJP?
Well, of course, the first point is, yes, it's a huge setback because Karnataka is just 1 year, to elections, the general elections 2023. And just before that, we are seeing various allegations. And just to add to that, we're looking at where even a Seer, Dingaleshwar Swamiji has come out and being vocal about the fact that the government, even if the government, especially the department, will have to release grant to the department, especially for the development and the welfare activities of the Mutt, At least 30% is the cut that is taken by some of the senior officials. Now, this is the allegation that he's made, and also Basuraj Bommai going on to state that, yes, of course, he's taking this particular allegation of the Seer very seriously, also going on to state that he will order a probe. But how much of it we have to wait and watch, because we already see that one life has been lost, because it's not an allegation which is new. If you're talking about the commission, whether it is 30% cut or 40% cut taken by the BJP government here, we are talking about the allegation which has surfaced over the last 1 year time and again. Because just late last year, we did see Ware Contractors Association writing to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, asking him to look into all the allegations and the corruption angle with regard to where the ministers and MLAs and also senior officials in Basuraj Bommai BJP government demanding commission to approve a project, or even for that matter to release the payment. So now we are looking at another allegation that's being made by a Seer himself. So all this while, it's been over 2 to 3 days since Santosh Patil, who was a BJP worker and a contractor, he died by suicide, and also in fact blaming K.S. Ishwarappa for his death, because K.S. Ishwarappa, according to him, was demanding nearly 40% of the commission. If at all the government was very serious about it, very serious about the allegations made by the Contractors Association, we would have seen some sort of probe ordered by the government. Now, if Chief Minister, Basuraj Bommai has gone ahead and said he's taking these allegations very seriously, now how much of it is going to be on ground? Now, that is what remains to be seen.
All right, thanks so much, MS Shrija, reporting, bringing us this exclusive report from Karnataka. And the other big story, India on Monday recorded a massive jump in its daily COVID counts, raising fears of another spike in infections. As many as 2,183 new COVID cases have been recorded over the past 24 hours. That's an 89% jump from Sunday's case count. The daily positivity rate, an indicator of the spread of the infection in the Indian population, has increased from 0.31% yesterday to 0.83% on Monday. Now, among the cities witnessing a surge in cases is the national capital, which has reported 517 COVID cases. The total number of COVID infected patients in Delhi stood at around 1,500, the highest since March this year, and so much so that UP, the state of Uttar Pradesh, has made masks mandatory again in the districts that have joined the national capital. All right, so the rise is steep, especially in 3 states. It's the 3 states that are contributing to the rise in COVID cases. Let's take a look at the weekly cases. Delhi has seen over 2,300, which is a 145% change in the past week. Haryana is over 1,100 cases. That's up by about 120%. UP has almost 550 cases, which is a 145% jump. More specifically, cases are rising sharply in and around Delhi in the next door cities like Noida, Ghaziabad and Gurgaon. So there have been 2,183 cases in the last 24 hours. That's the highest in 31 days. There's also been a 15% rise in weekly cases after 38 consecutive days of decline, that is, or negative growth. And this is the steepest turnaround from falling numbers in India's reproduction number, or the R number is above 1.0 after 77 days. That is a worrying measure of how cases are growing. And in the midst of all of this, the centre has pulled up the state of Kerala because Kerala has gone from 300 cases a day to 0 overnight, and the centre has asked the Kerala government that question the Kerala government over these data coming out after a 5-day gap, saying it has skewed India's overall numbers.
At least 2 schools shut last week because of rising COVID cases reopened today in Ghaziabad, next door to Delhi. It is one of the places where masks have been made mandatory by the government. Local officials say cases are rising, mostly amongst children.
शासन के और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के निर्देश पर एक तो सर्वेलेंस की गतिविधि को बढ़ाया गया है। विगत कुछ दिनों में कुछ स्कूल्स में जो कोविड केसेस आई है सामने है, ओवरऑल एनसीआर में कुछ हद तक पॉजिटिविटी दर जरूर वृद्धि हुई है, परंतु समाज में कोई भी एज सच कोई हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन में इंक्रीज या कोई वृद्धि देखने को नहीं मिली है।
केसेस जरूर बढ़ रहे हैं, जैसे मौसम बदल रहा है तो केसेस ज़्यादा आ रहे हैं, पर दिल्ली की टोटल पॉपुलेशन जो है वो वैक्सीनेटेड हो चुकी है। साथ ही बहुत बड़ी संख्या में लोग इन्फेक्टेड भी हो चुके हैं। तो अब जो केसेस आ रहे हैं पॉजिटिव जरूर आ रहे हैं, बट दे आर नॉट सीरियस। हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन नहीं बढ़ रहा है उसकी वजह से।
In UP's Noida, also bordering Delhi, there are 65 new COVID cases. Almost 19 are students below the age of 18. 9-year-old Aradhak of Noida is back to online classes again. His school has been shut for a week after over 10 students tested positive for COVID. Offline classes will resume from Wednesday. The UP government is stepping up action with a big focus on schools. Face masks in public places back to being mandatory in Noida, Ghaziabad, Hapur, Meerut, Bulandshahr, Bagpat as well as distant Lucknow. Noida has ordered schools to set up COVID help desks to check students for symptoms and implement COVID protocols. The Noida administration's advice to parents is this: don't send children with COVID-like symptoms to school. Over 90 students in 22 schools of Gautam Budh Nagar and Ghaziabad tested positive for COVID since campuses reopened for the new academic session this month. Parents are worried, but especially those whose children are taking the boards from next week.
स्कूल क्लोज करना एक कोई मतलब परमानेंट ऑप्शन नहीं है। इफ 40 स्टूडेंट्स आर देयर इन वन स्कूल देन दे शुड कॉल 20 स्टूडेंट ऑन मंडे, देन 20 स्टूडेंट ऑन ट्यूसडे। ऑनलाइन क्लासेस ठीक है, ठीक थी, बट स्टिल ऑफलाइन इज बेटर देन ऑनलाइन।
क्योंकि बोर्ड्स होने हैं तो बच्चों को एग्जाम भी देना जरूरी है। तो हमारी तो सरकार से ये मांग है कि सेल्फ सेंटर करा दिए जाएं, कोई बहुत परेशानी नहीं है, बच्चों को इधर से उधर मूवमेंट नहीं करना पड़ेगा।
Several states in India had removed all COVID restrictions after cases came down. But with the numbers surging again, especially among children in some areas, the authorities are changing their action plans. In Noida, with camera person Sushil Rathi, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
And the wholesale price inflation has risen to 14.55% in March. Inflation now completing 1 year in the double-digit territory, rising to a 4-month high. According to the Commerce Ministry, prices of crude and petroleum products have risen due to a disruption in the global supply chains caused by the Russia-Ukraine war, and the ongoing crisis and rising inflation dented investor sentiment. On Monday, domestic stocks plunged sharply, dragging lower by heavy selling pressure in the IT stocks. Investors' wealth tumbled over 3.39 lakh crore in morning trade on Monday as equity markets went into a tailspin, with the Sensex plunging 1,291 points, the Nifty ending before 17,200 points. And the big international story, the first visuals of Russia's Moskva missile cruiser, the flagship of its Black Sea fleet, sinking, emerged online. Ukraine has said that Moskva's fate was sealed by a missile strike launched by its forces from the coast last week, which ripped open the hulking Soviet-era ship's hull, while Russia claims that it was a fire and explosions involving ammunition stored on board that doomed the vessel. Either way, the Moskva had a crew of around 500 sailors who Russia says were successfully evacuated to other ships before being returned to their home port in Crimea on Friday. Ukraine suggests they are likely to have been fatalities. Meanwhile, NDTV's Vishnu Som is an Mykolaiv in a war zone in South Ukraine. This is the front line in Ukraine where the residents face frequent Russian strikes. Here's his ground report.
All right, so demining operations over there taking place in the very north of this country. But again, we are in Mykolaiv, that lies to the south, absolute south of Ukraine. We've reached a little while back. And as you can see, this is a completely bombed out hotel. This is an area that comes under frequent strikes, artillery strikes, missile strikes as well. It's been happening now for the last 3 days certainly, and every now and again these attacks do take place. So buildings like this in several parts of Mykolaiv have been targeted, and what you see over here is the remains of what was a hotel. We've also got somebody over here with us who's actually seen some of the attacks taking place. Hi sir, thank you for speaking to us. Did you see this? Did you see the attack over here?
Сюда бомба, сюда хорошая ракета прилетела. Большая, мощная, тяжелая.
Big, huge bomb covered
Вот сюда, и в администрации, вы же там были, да? Бомбы хорошие улетели.
This place and the administration we will go another So it was a huge bomb from the aviation. It was an aviation bomb.
Right. It was by an aircraft overhead.
Also, rockets are targeting through all the city, and one of the missiles just fell near his building, and the cassettes covered all his territory of his building. He shows his building. He just living in that building in.
Сейчас как сюда вылетела ракета, сюда бомбочка хорошая.
Let's just focus on this as we continue with this conversation. But let me ask you one thing.
When the bomb come to the building, all the windows of his house was broken.
И сзади дом, окна все полетели.
And the house behind this,
во дворе, да.
How this building was broken, all the windows.
Why are you still here? Do you not want to go away to the west?
Почему вы не уезжаете из города, не выезжаете подальше?
Ну, во-первых, у меня 5 правнуков, 2 детей.
He has 2 children and grandchildren, 5 grandchildren, so
Сейчас их бросить, что ли, и уехать?
He can't just leave them.
Мы-то уже, говорится, выживем. По 79 лет мне сбавить матери.
He is saying that he 80 years old, so
Вот,
he
я
will
волнуюсь
alive,
за молодежь.
but he
Ну, и с другой стороны,
want to
что ж,
take care about his sons and grandchildren.
That sound that we were hearing, was that shelling? Could you ask him that sound that we were hearing, was that artillery shelling? What is that?
Вот это что
да,
значит?
да, это ракета прилетела.
It's artillery strikes.
Artillery strikes on this area.
We can hear
Да,
now
значит,
artillery strikes.
Дело в том, что сейчас стык Херсонской Николаевской области, и там идут боевые действия.
Ага.
И оттуда, отсюда идет.
А далеко это отсюда?
Ну, километров 30-35.
30 kilometers from this place is border between Kherson region and Mykolaiv region, and a lot of artillery guns are working there, and just battles.
All right. Thank you, sir, very much for speaking to us. Thank you. Well, you know, I've been hearing these artillery. I don't know if you can hear that also. Let's just play that sound. Yeah. There are artillery strikes happening somewhere in this area. We don't know if I don't know if it's a target being struck over here or it's being done by Ukrainian defenders. But this area is now quite active, and I'm going to hand back as we try and assess our situation over here. Back to the studio.
And the Army Vice Chief Lieutenant General Manoj Pandey has been appointed as the next Chief of the Indian Army. He will assume office on the 1st of May. He will be the first officer from the Corps of the Engineers to become the Chief of Army Staff, and he will be succeeding General Manoj Naravane, who is scheduled to complete his 28-month tenure on the 30th of April. Now, the procession, during which clashes erupted in Delhi's Jahangir Puri on Saturday evening, took place without permission, the police admitted on Monday. The Home Minister Amit Shah on Monday asked the police commissioner to act sternly. 23 persons, including minors, have been arrested. Video footage has established that in this Hanuman Jayanti procession, participants carried weapons. They were seen brandishing swords, shouting inflammatory slogans. The Delhi police, though, has denied reports and videos that are available on social media that there was an attempt to put saffron flags inside a local masjid, which is what led to the clashes. But they do admit that swords and pistols and knives were among the weapons carried by those in the procession.
The latest investigation into the Delhi firing has revealed that the third procession for Hanuman Jayanti, taken out last Saturday, did not have police permission, according to the police. The Delhi police chief has now been instructed by Home Minister Amit Shah to ensure a proper inquiry. Sources say there are clear instructions to ensure it's not botched up. The police commissioner had earlier said all 3 processions had taken designated routes and denied there was inadequate police presence, nor who provoked the clash.
Prior to this procession, 2 processions who had been given the permission had completed the procession peacefully. उस प्रोवोकेशन को किसने शुरू किया, वो इन्वेस्टिगेशन का विषय है। इस वक्त उसको मैं आपके सामने नहीं बता पाऊंगा क्योंकि अभी इन्वेस्टिगेशन पूरा नहीं हुआ है।
एडिक्वेट पुलिस की व्यवस्था है और चाक चौबंद हैं हम सब। निश्चित रूप से वेपन अवैध था और अवैध तरीके से उसको यूज किया गया है, तो इसीलिए उस पर कानूनी कार्रवाई हुई और बाकी इन्वेस्टिगेशन आगे होगा और उससे पता लगेगा।
Mobile footage from Saturday night's violence clearly establishes weapons on both sides. The man seen firing a gun, identified as Sonu, has been arrested. The violence lasted for half an hour before it could be controlled. Some eyewitnesses allege that few of the procession participants tried to hoist a flag in the masjid. However, the police has denied that.
झगड़ा छोटी सी बात पे अल्टरकेशन शुरू हुआ था, वो फिर इसने ये स्वरूप ले लिया। जो लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि झंडा लगाने की कोशिश की थी, तो ऐसी बात में तथ्य नहीं।
जब हिंदू लोग आ रहा था, 3 गाड़ी लेके आ रहा था इधर से, कोई मुसलमान भाई कुछ नहीं बोला, तो ये लोग यहीं गाड़ी खड़ी कर दिया। तो कुछ आदमी लाके ऐसा धक्का मार रहा था, तो यहाँ झंडा करने के लिए ये लोग उतर गया था, वहाँ चढ़ गया था। ये दोनों जो हमारा मुसलमान भाई पत्थर फेंका था, वो लोग भी पत्थर फेंक रहा था, तो दोनों तरफ से तो ये लड़ाई विवाद हो गया।
शांतिपूर्वक सारे काम हो रहे थे, तो जैसे शिव लोग से हम बाहर निकले और कुशल हॉल की तरफ को हम मुड़े, तो बीच में मस्जिद पड़ती है, वहाँ आकर के कहा सुनी हुई है, वहाँ मारा पीटी शुरू हुई है। ये परचून की दुकान है, इनका गल्ला लूटा गया है। आगे वो चाउमीन की दुकान लगती है, उसकी भी नुकसान किया गया है, उसका भी सामान फेंका गया है। आगे हलवाई की दुकान है, उसका काउंटर भी तोड़ा गया है। वहाँ गाड़ियाँ खड़ी थी, उनके शीशे पत्थर मार गए, ईंट पत्थर मार गए, मोटे मोटे पत्थर।
Eyewitnesses say that when the violence began, the police were not around to control the situation. Soon there was stone pelting from both sides, arson, vehicles were vandalized and shops looted. Delhi police has arrested 21 people so far, of which 2 are minors. 14 accused are from the same community. 3 country-made pistols and 5 swords have been recovered from the accused.
In all, 3 processions were taken out. Delhi police now claims that it is the last procession which did not have required permissions to be taken out from this route, and that is why they are now registering a case against people who participated in that procession. The violence, triggered when the procession reached the masjid gates. As far as investigations are concerned, crime branch has taken over and formed 14 teams and are investigating various aspects related to this case. In New Delhi, with camera person Xavier Thomas, this is Neeta Sharma reporting for NDTV.
And eventually a peace march was organized by the Delhi police along with members of the Aman committee. A peace march was held on the evening of Monday in the area of Jahangirpuri, where residents of the area were appealed to maintain peace and harmony, not to spread rumors and misinformation, and to report any mischievous activities to the police. And finally, some sad news coming in from Jammu and Kashmir. 1 railway protection force personnel has been killed. Another one has been injured in a terrorist attack on the RPF. All of it caught on camera. CCTV footage shows the terrorists firing into RPF personnel sitting outside a tea stall. The police say that terrorists fired at the RPF personnel in Kakpora in Pulwama. The area was then cordoned off. Stay tuned to NDTV for constant updates. Bye-bye.